welcome to this video from zonalaudio.com. Today we have an attended mixing session with Zach, aka Mimic. Zach was very inquisitive on the call, asked lots of good questions which would no doubt be useful to many other producers watching this. Since the call, Zach has basically gone away and utilised the techniques and processes learnt during the call and mixed the track himself, and the processes have undoubtedly had a massive effect on the mix, which came back to me as a pre-master file that we have then mastered that you can hear in the intro and outro. But there is no doubt that the mix was for sure more defined, cleaner, louder, and resulted in a much better master than it would have done otherwise. We also looked at processing vocals and many other aspects of mixing, including referencing at the end to make sure what we had done was beneficial for the mix. If you find this kind of content useful, entertaining, or enjoyable in some way, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It massively helps the channel. And if you would like to inquire about attended mixing sessions or music production sessions, check the links in the description. We'll get on with this one for now. Enjoy.
I record it without any compression or EQ, but I'll add on some saturation or some drum buffs. I'll record that sample out into audio, then I'll take it and put it into a sampler, and then I'll add the same audio effects that I've already tweaked it with.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'd say there's definitely no harm in doing little bits of processing over and over again.
Yeah.
The general kind of
I did think if I did that like 3 times over, I'd be like just not like ruining whatever I've got. But I thought if I just do it once, I'm like,
yeah,
and mix down in some way.
Yeah.
Very quick manner.
For me, it's like I think using a little bit of a lot of effect is better than using a lot of one effect in chat. But what I'd say, just to be wary of about what you said there, is actually using the exact same settings each time. So something to think about there, like say even just the saturator on medium curve with nothing, that already alters the sound, and when it is altering the sound, it's often doing stuff around this area.
Right.
So if that just is put on there and then it's left and it's fine, but then you just basically do that exact thing again, then again you might get a bit of an increase in this area that may or may not be desirable. So it's just to think about if you're using exactly the same effect, maybe that might make certain areas sound a bit tired and a bit too forced maybe.
Okay, right.
Something to be wary of, but it's not, I personally do lots of stages of saturation. I prefer to do like a little bit, and in that initial stage I'll probably push it really far and see how it sounds, and then really back off on it, and then later on I'll be like, oh yeah, I want a little bit more crunch or a little bit more push, so I'll do a different plugin or the same plugin but just set a little bit differently. But yeah, so you've got the kick stem here, so that looks like we're good to go.
Oh really? Right, okay.
Yeah, I think so. I'll just solo the kick and you let me know if it sounds right.
Yeah.
Okay, so cool. So of the 2 tracks, I had more notes on this one, so it might still be worth just keeping in mind whatever I say about this and thinking about that if you want to kind of tweak the mix to the other one. I'd definitely say get some like overall drum bus processing going. That's going to help massively.
Right.
So with so this is flip mode. So I noticed the stereo image wasn't as wide as the other one. So that's something that we can look to address with Ascend. And yeah, I noted 50 to 150 hertz is a bit strong. And I'm just looking at the bass now, and that I was thinking maybe that section just doesn't go quite as high. And but seeing what's going on now, maybe a little bit of automation to slowly bring it in that high could be nice. But that's yeah, that's a creative choice for you if you want. Okay, so I've written down the kick could be more in front of the bass, and also having looked at the fundamental and the tone of the kick, I
Yeah.
definitely think a little bit of balancing going on there could be good. Yeah, the cut is at 74, and I feel like with where the bass is rolling, the kick, the fundamental of the kick can definitely drop a bit lower. I typically don't like the sound of EQ8 with that steep curve on kicks. It's quite possible, but yeah, so like for example, for the cuts, always experiment and see which one sounds better.
Okay.
Sometimes some will sound a bit smoother than others. And also when dealing with low end, especially, I'd probably be tempted to enable the oversampling. I won't go into too much about what it does, but it's less likely to cause any issues essentially. And yeah, when you're dealing with low end, that's more important. Let me just double check if that gives an actual. Yeah, I want to just give the kick and bass a little bit of a rebalance. There's one other note I made as well, actually, which was that it was a little bit strong at 3K. And I think I've noticed that to be the snare. Yeah, so like a combination of those sounds. So I'm going to jump in on that one. Yeah, again, I would probably reach for a non-Ableton device. I'd DS that, and I'll just show you quickly because you can do it again with an Ableton device, but it's just a little bit more fiddly. So yeah, this basically removes harsh frequencies. I don't know if you've seen Soothe 2. It's not too dissimilar. So that's what I'm taking out. And I just look to get like that sharpest. Just softens it up a tiny bit. So if we don't have that, obviously an option is to EQ a little bit out. Yeah, so it just sounds like quite sharp to my ear, and just taking
Yeah.
those two tiny cuts out make a bit of a difference. You've got to be careful when doing stuff like this that you don't take too much character and weight out of the sound. Um, and then, okay, so we can technically use a compressor as a de-esser. Use this EQ and then the notch with a really high Q, and then audition this. So, like I say, it's a bit more fiddly, but now if we set that to be there, take that off. So that's on a high ratio, well, infinite ratio. I think that is good enough, and that is actually seems quite insignificant.
Mm.
It's
Oh no, I'd rather know these things. I'm very big. I'm very like I just chop off my EQs in I just round them off essentially. I don't really think about just dipping major spikes. And I used to do things like that.
okay.
So
So that's actually a good time to come on to the vocal that I
yeah.
took a
The
quick.
reason why I sent you this is because I've never really mixed in vocals, and I just thought it'd be best just to
Yeah,
yeah.
it's yeah, it's a whole different art form, man. Like I could probably go quite far with this if you want me to, but the main thing I would say that I noticed is we can allow down to like 100 hertz.
Am we right? Okay, because
Yeah,
I just the reason what I do is when I'm doing that sharp fall on the EQ is I'm literally bringing it up, and just as soon as I have the dynamic range where it's not too tinny but it's enough, I just feel like I need to cut off any other
yeah.
end of the spectrum basically.
It's it's a really common mistake cutting male vocals at like 200 hertz or higher.
Okay. Oh.
Now, like you do need to be careful to cut the low end out. Like
Male vocal especially specifically.
yeah, people don't realize how much weight is in.
Obviously you've got different vocalists and different I get
Yeah.
that vocal range, but yeah,
Yeah. So it's a tricky one because most, or not most, but like a significant amount of elements within a mix, you definitely want to cut at around 2 to 300 hertz
right.
and really reserve everything else for the bass. But we've got to consider timbre in this sense, and the male voice and the human voice.
Yeah.
It has content down there, but timbrally it's quite soft.
Right,
To
okay.
allow a bit more through, you're less likely to have interference with the bass, but you're still going to get the presence that we're used to hearing in the voice. That makes
Right,
sense.
okay. Yeah,
So yeah, I'd definitely bring that a little bit
Shouldn't even
lower.
care about those noses in the air and the crooked stairs. Don't hold back. Cause there's a party over here, so you might as well be here with the people care.
You're getting into like telephone voice range.
yeah, you are, yeah, I get that.
And again, like there's no right or wrong. You could stylistically do that if that's what you wanted to do, but I think you can allow a bit more through and learn. You'll get a bit more body. So okay, we've got some reverb here. Okay, so this
Oh, I
again,
thought
just
I EQ'd that.
well, that's actually a very high low cut on the way in,
Right,
wherever that was, 8K. So yeah, looking on the readout, I could see. So it is important to do some low cut, but I think we can allow at least yeah 800-ish there. So the visual of this is really deceptive. If you actually look at the number, it's at the lowest, it's 50 hertz,
oh yeah, of
which
course.
is at the bottom, but like halfway when you start to see the cut, we actually only at like 300. So yeah, typically a low cut input filter 2 300 would be suitable. And again, just have a listen to the thing solo.
Yeah, there's just
So it was like up there.
oh yeah, okay.
Okay, so that in itself will give us a bit more mid-range width. Cool. So yeah, I am happy to spend a bit of time mixing this now if you want, and I will keep it all Ableton so that I can send it back to you.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Cool. Kind of dip back into that thinking of what I was saying about like the top-down view
Yeah,
that we started with to basically kind of just bring everything up a little bit, but also kind of have it that limit so we're not going too far over 6 dB in our master. I'm going to start by essentially stemming things up, so actually similar to what you talked about before with Jack, where you're getting the stems.
yeah,
So we're doing that. We're basically grouping groups of sounds.
yeah,
So we've got our vocal chops, drop effects. So I'm gonna just turn that off and turn the channel grey so it's not in the way. So when it comes to doing your version, you got it there. Yeah, I'm tempted to do a kind of subgroup for the drums, but no, I want to keep all drums, and I'm even going to consider putting the bass in that group as well.
Cause you woke up in the morning with initiative to move, so I got harder. Don't hold back.
So things are just a touch loud, not too much, like 2 dB on the whole, and then maybe a tiny bit more on the kick. Aiming for around -10 for all of the drums.
Right.
Around -10, that's fine. Going to compress the bass directly from the kicks. Okay, so yeah, this is a great example of what we're trying to achieve. So quite a lot of information here, all the drums. going into this limiter, ceiling set to -10. Remember, I said we were aiming for around -10 on the drum bus without the limiter. So then when we set the ceiling to be -10 and then just do a little bit of gain, we're really kind of pulling up all those sounds. And then the release time can really introduce a bit of groove in there. If we go too fast, it can distort. But yeah, very few controls, just a couple of settings, and we're getting a real kind of maybe to go a bit further with that, the glue compressor and then saturator. I would typically steer clear of amp for this kind of stuff,
Okay.
but I'll actually grab, yeah, amp and pedal and overdrive are usually a little bit too strong for group processing.
Yeah.
I'd say it can't be used, but drum bus, what do I want? Saturator. So always worth trying a couple of options with this.
Yeah.
But essentially the process is very similar to what we're doing here, and we're just reducing the dynamic range a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
With saturator and drum bus, we have the chance to add color and vibe and grit in there as well. So let me turn the limiters off. So starting with the glue compressor, a good setting for doing this kind of stuff to do is to do it in parallel.
Yeah.
In this setting, we're like shaving off the top by setting the ceiling to be 10. And then with the input gain, we're like pulling everything else up only a little bit, 3 dB gain. So we're getting just a little bit of a squash and a little bit more punch. And some of that is determined by the release time. With the compressor, we only have a ratio maximum of 10, which is still high. But a limiter is essentially a ratio of infinite, so it cuts off the whole sound. So I'm still going to set high for this and then do really quick attack and release times, completely get like a fully squashed version of the sound, and then put it in 50% dry wet
Right.
and adjust the makeup gain. So another thing I should have mentioned when tweaking the kick is everything is pretty much gain staged. So I'm not adding any gain throughout these processes. I'm just trying to improve the sound without making it louder. So yeah, the medium curve, even with no drive, needed to be brought down on the output. So same thing here. But initially, yeah, I'm just looking for that squashed, kind of glued, vibey sound. Okay, so that's really flattened it and it's lowered the gain significantly.
Yeah.
We've got room to go on makeup gain. One thing I am thinking is it exaggerating some of this area where the kick's like boomy? So I
Yeah.
might want to do some EQ before that, but now I just want to mix the signal together. So go 50% work. Again, check in. We'll bounce it around -10. Want to keep it around that level, basically, not go too far over, if at all. So just increasing the makeup gain until I got to that number we were looking for, -10, and then really up front. Okay, drum bus. If you notice the default setting, out is turned down by -4 and dry wet is 50%. usually whatever setting it is, it just turns it louder straight away, and that annoys me. So yeah, I basically just set it up and then did save as default preset. So yeah, we can maybe add a bit more vibe here.
Should I be trying to replicate all of this? Sorry, should I be trying to replicate this across all my group channels that you've grouped up? Because I used to group stuff all the time and mix gel all the time, and then I sort of stopped doing it.
Yeah, so the drums is the most kind of important thing to get, and it kind of depends what you've got going on, and it depends on the style. The drums, you've typically got kind of the most different elements in different frequency ranges. In some tracks, that might be the case with the synths. You might have like 6 synth lines where you might want to spend a bit more time on the group to kind of tie them all in together and EQ them together. And on that, something that I don't talk about enough when explaining this kind of things is the summing of the part. So with the kick and the snare and all the other elements, sometimes they're hitting at the same time, sometimes they're not. So sometimes it's louder.
Yeah.
And that is again something that we're trying to like take care of. If you've got loads of synths, that summing is going to be a significant factor at points. And yeah, you're going to want to basically give control so that when things are climactic, that things aren't getting too far into the red, and we can use limiting and compression just to kind of smooth that off a little bit.
Right, okay.
So yeah, going for kind of extreme example here, like again, 50% work. Overall, not liking what that's doing to the tone of the kick, but I think some saturation could work. Okay, I've just gone a step back actually. The release time was bringing that boomy kind of wobbiness of
Okay.
That's better, a little bit slower. Okay, so still been keeping my eye here, making sure we're not getting too far over 10, and then I can activate the final limiter.
The time come to whirl. The time come to hold back. Whirl. The time come to whirl. The time come to my finger is on the button. 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 Galvanize. Come on, come on. Come on, come on. Come on, come on. The time comes to galvanize. Come on, come on. Shit on the back burner, let it sit. Don't even get it lit. Don't hold back. Get it all in the jam. Don't be a brick. Hot chick, be a big. Don't hold back. 'Cause you woke up in the morning with initiative to move, so I got harder. Don't hold back. Think about so many people do be cool and look smarter. Don't hold back. Ain't shouldn't even care about those hoes sitting here. Look at this. Don't hold back. 'Cause there's a party over here, so you might as well be here when the people care. Don't hold back. If you think about it too much, you may stumble, trip up, fall in the face. My finger is on the button. My finger is on the button. Girl, the time comes to
Cool. So, having done that with the drums and like solidified them a little bit, and having analyzed the kick and where the fundamental was, and then being like, okay, there isn't like that low full-on boom that I thought that cut might be taken out. I'd looked at the bass and there's plenty of that there. And yeah, basically just raised the bass until I was like getting to where would be good on the pre-master. So just making sure that it like I'm getting to where I can hear the bass, and then maybe I can see it creeping significantly over -6 dB. And then I just brought it back a tiny bit, and yeah, ended up in a pretty nice place. And then I did notice this earlier, but the crossover of the bass was just a little bit too close. So I
Right.
think that was a steep curve at like 300, like around here or something. So basically, knowing that I wanted to raise the volume of this to get more sub and low end, I wanted to make sure I wasn't also pushing this kind of area because this layer is handling that.
Right.
Even though we've got the cut there, I wanted to make sure there wasn't any overlap, basically. Because even this will be adding a little bit more back down low end there. So yeah, that's kind of didn't really talk through the actual readout, but now would be a good time to bring it up. On your version.
galvanize. Come on, galvanize. Come on, come on.
So yeah, I could see that it was like quite well, a little bit stronger here than it is here. And what I wanted to do is basically lift this area up a little bit, or basically instead of it being like this, it going a little bit more like this.
Yeah.
So that low end energy is a little bit more prominent, and the punch and the kick is coming through. Still loud and true, but yeah, like I've mentioned, like having the kick a little bit in front of the bass, if that makes sense. The bass really being low down, and then the kick being like punching at the top. So now let's test let's test my theory.
Galvanize. Come on, come on. Come on, come on. Come on, come on. The time comes to galvanize.
Yeah, it's just a bit more energy, a bit lower down. So yeah, and it like that took, a bit of work, but in terms of like overall balance, it's not a massive amount. Just tweaking it in. So let me have a listen all the way through, and I'll flip back to your version as well, and just making sure I'm not like totally missing anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, vocals. So I'll basically do a similar thing. So it'll be like, as fancy as it needed to be or could be. And you can kind of just apply as much of that as you'd like to when it comes to doing it. So let's do compression initially. So caveat to this is that we're doing it on essentially an already mixed vocal, but I assume it's come from some kind of stem splitting software.
Yeah.
Is that right? That's all good. Just so I know.
Yeah, it's actually from a sample pack, but that's what I assume. But it's
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
in some
Cool.
of the vocals you could hear in some of the samples in the pack, you could hear like a faint of the instrumental.
That's no problem. All good. All good. All good. So, yeah. So what I'm basically saying there is they're already treated in some way. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the final vocal after being probably slaved over by an engineer for a good couple of hours at least.
Partly why I didn't want to do too much to it.
Yeah, so yeah, that's a good place to start. However, it has then gone through the process of the stem removal, so we might have lost a little bit of integrity and warmth of the vocal, maybe. So yeah, it's just about kind of processing what you hear, basically. So for me, it does sound a bit thin, even though we've allowed that back in.
Don't hold back. If you think about it too much, you may
So
stumble.
some of the segments as well that are split into some of the audio. I swear some of the clips are quieter than others.
So
So
okay, so yeah, so that so
I've tried to bump up the decibels on the ones that I think are quieter.
yeah. So yeah, first protocol for that is go in and do the clip game.
Okay.
Yeah, just yeah, which it looks like you've done. So yeah, that's first thing to do, and then we can kind of add a slight automation of that. So what we're doing with all the processing, the compressing, limiting, saturation, we're doing a different version of that. Leveling, making the quiet a bit smaller, the quiet a bit louder. So I'll start with some gentle compression, and then we'll do some saturation. And then, so the auto filter, I'm going to do a little cheat with, and then we'll do EQ and limiter. So this will be a more gentle process of like same thing that I was looking to do with the limiter is just like catch the peaks.
Yeah.
But obviously that's a bit more gentle because it's
Don't hold back.
compression.
Don't hold back. World, the time's come to. World, the time's come to. My finger is on the button. My finger is on the button.
Already sounding a bit smoother. I'm just going to add a bit of makeup gain there. Doing about 5 dB gain reduction at the most. I'm actually going to go to 2, but we're on a ratio of 4. So some of the original sound is being let through.
Yeah.
So we're reducing the volume a tiny bit, so a tiny bit.
Don't hold back.
Cool. And then start by bringing the output down and again, like driving it. See.
Hold back. World, the time's come to. World, the time's come to. My finger is on the button. 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 Oh, come on, come on.
Should have said with our drum bus around -10, your other main elements are probably going to want to sit around -14. So depending what that is in the track, could be vocals, could be synths, could be whatever. Yeah, that's going to come in around -14-ish.
Okay.
Don't hold back.
And that should get us summing to around -6, especially if that -10 and -14 is set with a limiter, essentially.
Don't hold back. 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 World, the time's come to. World, the time's come to. My finger is on the button. My finger is on the button. My finger is on the button.
Okay, and then yeah, be a bit cheeky with the auto filter. I'm gonna set it like basically most of these sound pretty nice with just a little bit of drive. So MS2 is one I use a lot. So think about what if you could put the vocals through the filter of an MS2, and I'm not going to do anything with it. It's going to be quite low down, and then just give it a little bit of drive. And unlike with the compressor and saturator, I can't compensate that. There's no output on the auto filter. So I could consider getting a utility and just knocking that down. Or if we were going to use the EQ, we could just use the next gain stage, basically.
Don't hold back. World, the time's come to. World,
And yeah, I really don't think it needs
don't hold back.
maybe a
Don't
little
hold
bit.
back. World, don't hold back. World, the time's come to. World, the time's come to. My finger is on the button. My finger is on the button. My finger is on the button. My finger is on the button.
Okay, and then let's maximize. Why not? Output will be 10. And then basically we're bringing the threshold down until we're doing a little bit of gain reduction, not too much. Just gonna bring that down one.
Don't hold back, world. The time's come to. World, the time's come to. My finger is on the button.
Makes me manage.
Don't hold back, world. The time's come to. World, the time's come to. My finger is on the button.
Push the button.
My finger is on the button.
Push the button.
My finger is on the button.
Push the button.
My finger is on the button. Galvanize. Come on, come on. My finger is on the button.
Push the button.
My finger is on the button.
Push the button.
Don't hold back, world. The time come to.
Push the button.
World, the time's come to.
Push the button.
My finger is on the button.
Push the button.
My finger is on the button.
Push the button.
My finger is on the button.
Push the button.
My finger is on the button. Galvanize. Come on, come on. Come on, come on. Come on. Put your bum on your face. Don't hold back. It's time you get up. Stop. Sit up. Come on, keep it. Don't hold back. Put apprehension on the back burner. Let it sit. Don't even get it lit. Don't hold back. Get it all with the jam. Don't be a big hot chick. Be a big. Don't hold back. Cause you woke up in the morning with initiative to move. So I ain't harder. Don't hold back. Think about it, so many people do be cool and a smarter. Don't hold back. And you shouldn't even care about those roses in here and the crooked stairs. Don't hold back. Cause there's a party over here, so you might as well be here with the people care. Don't hold back. If you think about it too much, you may stumble, trip up, fall in your face. Don't hold back. It's time to get up, stop, sit up, come on, keep it. Don't hold back. Put apprehension on the back burner, let it sit. Don't even get it lit. Don't hold back. Get it all with the jam. Don't
We'll bounce this out. We'll take a look at the waveform in comparison. But yeah, there's a lot of nip and tuck there. But like
Yeah, no, there's
Okay.
a lot.
on the whole, the ideas and the production is strong. It's just getting that fine tuning with the mixing. Yeah. Okay, so I can just bring that back in.
I'm very happy to have an example because that's how I learn. If I see that process and I can keep going back to it, and then
So yeah, this is a rudimentary experiment, by the way, but just to give a little bit of a point, you see how those edges are just chopped off a little bit. Like we still have dynamic range, there is still movement, but yeah, that example of everything just kind of being squished a little bit, not too much, like judicious use of compression and limiting. Yeah, like I say, that is a rudimentary example, just to look at one waveform and go, that one is going to sound better. But to kind of again think about it from that top down, we've done a slight rebalancing in terms of the low end energy. So